Hey,
There we go.
what's up? What's up? What's up?
How are you, man?
Good, good, man. Good. I feel like you look like the skinny version of me. That's what I'm feeling right now on the Zoom.
Listen, I could only hope to look like any version of you, Mr. Cliff. I could only hope because everybody knows that for many
Yeah,
a movie, you've been Brad Pitt's stunt double.
you're the worst, man. Oh man, we got our coffees, man. I'm feeling good. I need to stay awake nowadays.
Why you got kids?
Yeah, I actually have one. And then yeah, we're yeah, it's crazy right now.
I was gonna say, if you don't have kids, don't come talk to me about staying awake.
Exactly. You have a lot more though. I have one 5 month old, but you have three.
Yeah, four
Four.
kids.
Jeez, you went, wait, how many I got? That's so awesome. All right.
But I will say that first kid is a shock to the system.
Oh,
Well,
it's like now I'm like used to it. It's good, but it was pretty crazy starting off. I was just like I literally have a human now, and it's
yeah,
defensive. Nothing it can do. It can't do. It's not like, hey, homie, let's go hang. It's
no.
just there.
Our first 3 months, he had what's called colic, where they just can't stop. Like they get basically reflux and they're crying, and it's just terrible.
Mhm.
And man, he did not sleep for 3 months. Like we would take shifts of holding him,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
but from the third month on, he slept through the night. So our first was kind of a breeze.
That was kind of how it was for us too. We literally like we didn't sleep in the same bed. Like one of us on the couch, one was us, because he would only sleep to the Christmas tree. He would have to look at the Christmas tree to be able to sleep. I know. It was the weirdest.
Wow.
I know. And we brought it into the bedroom and it didn't work. We had to have it in the living room. It made no sense, man.
What's super funny is he probably wasn't even looking at the Christmas tree, but like
Yeah, some like
guys are doing all these different things.
yeah, yeah, that's so real. Well, catch us up a little bit on you. I mean, I know you, but everybody watching might not know you. And so just catch us up on you. Tell us a little bit about you. And
Yeah, mate. Well,
where do I start?
Chris Carmona. I don't know if I say the full last name and everything. I feel like everyone in America introduces themselves with first and last name all the time.
I
Um,
feel like I call people either by their Instagram name or their full name. Like I never like, you know what I mean? It's their full name or their Instagram tag name. Because some people have like weird names.
I do actually call people by their like social media handles sometimes in church. Like that's who I know. That's like how
That's how
I
I
know
know
them.
the best.
Um, so yeah, mate. Just so obviously we met. You came through to the church, and we started People Church 7 years ago. Well, actually, 8 years ago. April was our eighth birthday.
Wow.
Um, so crazy, man. Time flies, and just yeah, it's been a great journey. I think it was like unexpected in
Mhm.
some ways. Like, first of all, I never thought I'd be here in Chicago, and then on top of that, I think I had this idealistic idea of, as it probably we all do, as to how it was going to turn out, and it was just like some really hard yards in those first few years, and but obviously turned around and was, is flourishing and moving now, and it's been really fun, and we got campus in Barcelona, Toronto.
Cool.
We uh, we bought a building here in Chicago, which is amazing because it gives us opportunity to like grow. We've outgrown two buildings now, so and just renting gets tired, man. For 8 years, like the
Yep.
restrictions and things of that nature. So like, yeah, it's exciting times, man. It's amazing
Yeah.
and super thankful.
And you're from, and so you have an accent, so you're not from here, right? And I know this, but not everybody else knows it.
From from Michigan and deep Michigan.
The deep Michigan.
Yeah, it's a real small little town that has an accent, and you would be surprised how many people I say that to, and they believe me. They're
They're like,
like,
oh wow, I didn't know that. That's so real.
wow, I need to get out more.
So funny.
So from Australia, Sydney, Australia is where I grew up, and then planted, or was part of a team that planted a church on the Gold Coast of Australia,
Mhm.
and moved here 10 years ago. In October, it'll be 10 years.
No, wow, it's so cool. And like your wife's from Chicago, correct? Is that where she's
Yeah.
from too?
Yeah. So we were stopping through. We were going to actually go plant a church in the Czech Republic in Prague.
No way.
Yeah. And, just one thing led to another, and God kind of started leading us towards here. I thought it was either going to be Prague or LA. So
Sky's the limit with Chris.
I don't know, man. I think sometimes I don't think things through, which is maybe why God is happy to speak to me about things, because he's like, he'll go.
Exactly.
He'll go. He's not going to think it through.
Exactly. I'm the same exact way, man. Yep. I mean, I'm starting a church during a pandemic, bro. So, I mean, I totally so we like announced September is going to be our launch. So we were about to have our first interest meeting, and then like the mandate came down. And so we're like meeting with our core team, like through Zoom. And we're like, you know what? We're on the same playing field as everyone else. Let's just do this. So we've been online now. We just had our 5th week. And so we're going into week 6, and we started a series. Like, we're just like, you know what? We're not just going to put something out. It's like, no, like we really feel like we can make a difference in our area. So yeah, man.
Now you're official, man. You started a series.
Yeah, I know, right? I was like, it's not just, I literally said in one week, I was like, I'm not just going to pump you with the grace message every week. And I was like, I don't know why I said that, but whatever. We're going to start a series. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, yeah. So it was good. It's been good. It's been awesome. And, it's been crazy, but yeah, I agree with you 100%. It's like God loves to work with those that go, what? All right, sure. Let's do it. Like,
yeah,
we get the most done. That's awesome.
I honestly believe that. I think you got to be willing more than capable.
Oh, exactly. Because he gives you, like, he's in the business of giving you what you need. Like, that's us. That's who he is. But all right, very spiritual question to start us off. So you lived in Australia. Now you live in Chicago. All right. And so how are you doing spiritually with the cold?
It's definitely tested me. I've definitely maybe not had the best moments and said the best things at times. It is insane. I remember we were flying in, and my wife's like, babe, you're going to have to get a coat. And I was like, a coat? Like, why would I need I've got 2 hoodies. I'll just double up. And obviously not, because minus 30 is like insane. Like minus 30, no matter what, Fahrenheit or Celsius. It's just like crazy. So, man, it's been an adjustment. Yeah. That has been the biggest adjustment.
It's wild. Like it's bad in Pittsburgh, like during the winters, but like Chicago gets it way worse. Like you guys get it way worse than we ever do. So when I was up there, I never experienced cold like that. We went up there in like I think a February, like early February.
Yeah, that's our worst month.
Oh, it was bad. I'm like, I don't even want to walk around. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to see anything.
You just got to spend the money on a really good coat. Like fashion in winter went out the window for me. I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't want to look cool.
It's like wow, it's layer season. I can finally rock a layer, but then you're like, no, it's all going to be covered up by a coat from my ankles to my nose. Like I can't.
Yes, and when I first got here, I'd layer up just because it was the only way to stay warm. And then by the time I was completely layered, I was like, I couldn't move. People were like, "Hey, Chris," on the street, and I'm like, can't even. It's ridiculous. It's so cold, but that was definitely an adjustment, man. It was crazy coming from a place that never had winter. In comparison.
It's absolutely wild, man. I love that. And so we had kind of like talked a little bit before this, and I love the kind of, some thoughts that you had were like, maybe we could talk about this, but I mean, we're a young church. We're as young as it can be right now during this pandemic. And so I kind of just wanted to open it up and kind of take it that direction. But like, anything that you wanted to share to like you're 7 years in, 8 years in April, and and you've mastered it, right? And so I'm sure. So, but like, speak. I think the question that I want to ask is like, what did no one tell you? You know what I mean? Like you're 8 years in, and like, invested not just me, but like our church. Like, what do you want to? Anything you want to say, and we'll just keep going from there. But I mean,
yeah, man. Like, I mean, yeah, 100%. Like, it's definitely a subject I'm pretty passionate about because there was a lot that people didn't tell me, but there was a lot that they couldn't tell me because they didn't understand what it was to start a church in my region. They don't always specifically know, even beyond just that, because I think principles work, and they got to be tweaked, but principles work.
Yeah.
The outworking of the principle has to be tweaked. But I think that no one really knows what God is going to take you through and the journey that he has for your church. So there's a lot of it that you just, no one can tell you. And I think that is part of the problem with some people when you start a church or when you lead something or when you endeavor to do something is, and even when we lead people, they often want us to tell them everything, right? They're like, come on, man, you didn't tell me it was going to be like this. And the truth is, well, the reality is I don't know exactly what God's going to do for you. And that's going to be the journey of figuring that out yourself and knowing how to go to God on things and contextualize and grind it out and do the seasons that he wants you to do. And I guess, there's that, moment in the Bible where Jesus like rebukes the Pharisees because they demand a sign. And he goes, you know how to read the skies, you know whether to know fair weather or not, but you don't know how to read what's going on right now in front of you.
Yeah.
And I guess if I could give a thought on it, I kind of lately have been talking to our team about the concept of a leadership year, thinking of not a actual physical 12-month year, but talking about how one thing I learned here in Chicago is that there's actually 4 seasons. So that's a new thing for me from Australia. And like what I think is that a lot of people get discouraged with leadership or maybe start putting out leadership quotes too early in life when they haven't really done a full leadership year. And what I mean by that is I feel like there's 4 seasons and those 4 seasons can vary, but I feel like it's a good idea of the fact that, you've got to go through a season of like sacrifice. You got to do a season of failure. You got to do a season of success and you got to do a season of sowing. Like, and when you've led through those 4 seasons, I would call that like one leadership year.
Yeah.
And those 4 seasons might last 2 years, 3 years, whatever. But like, until then, I don't think that we fully understand how things move. And I would just kind of say that you've got to understand your season when you plan, and you've got to understand your season when you join a church plan. And I think we've got to look for people, and people got to look for churches, not according to what the church can give them, but what they're called to give. You're made with purpose and full purpose, and therefore, I think your church should resonate with your purpose, not so much resonate with what you think you need.
Wow.
And I think that if you're doing leadership, don't be discouraged because you're in a year of sacrifice. If you look at it, Revelation chapter 2, I believe, it's the letters to the angels of the churches of the 6 or 7 churches, sorry. And for each one had a different challenge. And one of them was simply just going through a season of persecution and doing it well. Yeah. And I think, what I've noticed back to when you said, what's it like being here? Man, when I was in Chicago, I first caught myself being like, man, in the dead of winter, it's summer back home. And I just kept thinking, man, I want to be home. Like, I just want to be in that summer right now. I just want to be right there. And I think that speaks to a lot of how we plant churches, a lot of how we start relationships is we're in our season that God wants us in, that we must experience in order to get well-rounded.
Wow.
But we look over to the season that everybody else is in, and we don't really get the best out of our season. And I feel like, man, you don't want to skimp on the sowing, because then you'll be upset with the reaping, So I think just knowing the seasons and enjoying it too. And I don't know, like, you could look at empty seats as defeat, or you could look at them with faith and know that, wow, here's a great platform for a great testimony.
Yeah.
Like, I think all those things, I think they bring longevity. And I think, even understanding culture as well. Yeah. And like, culture is not set and forget. Culture, I think healthy culture evolves, and knowing that whatever you are in year 1 to 3 doesn't mean you got to be that to years, in year 4 to 7. And, I feel like a lot of the times people join your church because they love who you are, but they're not committed to who you'll be. Wow. And so when you actually end up growing, they're like, this has just gotten too big now. This is just not. And it's the reality that is that they didn't ever sign up for the vision. They actually probably signed up thinking the vision was a nice lofty thought, but it wasn't going to happen. Wow. And so they sign up for who you are in that moment. And then when you start growing, they say dumb things like, you've changed. And you're like, yeah, I hope so. Yeah. I want to change. I want to grow. I want to be more. And but at the core, we're still the same people. We still love people and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I feel like there's a whole mix of stuff there. If anything resonates with you, I can kind of open it up more. But I don't know. I'd speak a lot about just understanding the season, sowing well, like not calling it early. Like I wanted to quit in year 4. I actually was about to give the church up. And God just said to me, just give me 1 more year and you can pretend you'll quit every 3 months. And I was like, I could do that.
That sounds good.
So that year, everything just, took off and eventuated like we've always believed and wanted it to. And so,
well, talk to me about that. Well, talk to me about that. Like, so I was actually that was actually the next question I was going to ask was like, all right, like, the lowest that you felt, during this time, what was it that you were going through? You don't have to get specific, but like what was going through, mind games that you had, but then also like, what did you learn from that and stuff like that? And like, leadership that was around you and stuff like that, what kind of paralleled from that?
Yeah, man, I don't mind being specific because I feel like a lot of the time we paint a picture that's not realistic. And the problem with unrealistic pictures is they actually make people quit. I think that,
yes, I love that.
Like my highlights are my highlights and they'll speak for themselves, but like my lowlights are things that people hide. And I feel like this, we say this a lot of people in church, like God owned my highlights and I'll speak about the lowlights because the lowlights keep reminding people that I came from a place that maybe they don't imagine because people see the destination and think, oh man, you've always had perfect 4 kids. Amazing. Well, we've also had 4 miscarriages. You know what I mean? Oh man, Barcelona, Toronto, and you're buying a building in a city and whoa, that's crazy. 48,000 squares. And it's like, yeah, that's great too. But at the same time, for the first 4 or 5 years, we didn't even get paid on time, let alone paid in full, let alone paid a proper wage. Like I learned you could buy diapers with a fuel card. You know what I mean? Like that works if you ever need it, whoever that is out there. Just that works. And
take that blessing.
Take that blessing. Look, that's yours. But like you said, the mandate came down. That's the revelation I'm bringing today. That's what I'm bringing. Fuel cards with diapers with fuel cards. You're welcome. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
This is why you got me here.
Dude, that's so real.
But for real, man, like, so I'm cool with speaking about anything at that level. So I think for me, man, I am an ultra competitive human. And when I say that, I'm not saying like everyone says, they can, no, I'm like, it's been a detriment to some ways. And so I think those first 4 or 5 years, man, were really filled with a lot of self-inflicted pain because I had attached a measure that came and was derived out of my insecurities and out of my brokenness and out of my desires, not really a measure that was out of God's. And I think God had to slow me down and take me through a journey of learning how to actually love people, not love the result of having many people. You know what I mean? And I think it started to shape and further form like who we are today. And so it was really good. But, I think there came a point where 4 years in, you're feeling like you're learning the lessons. But man, we were looking at our church and we were just like, our giving wasn't strong. There wasn't any incredible numbers. Like we would just fluctuate, and, we were around 350, and for me, just, if you're happy with that, that's
what I'm saying. Like it is just so interesting because like that number to a leader that like us, like a person that's a pioneer, a person that's like, like God, I want to reach more. I want to reach the city. I want to reach this. I'm here for a purpose. I'm here for this. 350. That's like, there's some churches that are like, that'd be amazing, but I think that God loves that tenaciousness of like, this isn't enough, but keep going with what you're talking about though, because that's.
Yeah. And I think as well, man, we're in a society and a time where, I think we've thought for a long time that the best way to encourage people is with success stories. Whereas I feel like maybe a better way to encourage people is creating successful mindsets and successful motives. Yep. And, the fruit of that will speak for itself. And I just think that I was caught up in thinking, man, I'm going to be here. And I think the greatest disappointment and the greatest issue with a lot of marriages and anything, and even the leadership follow-up relationship as people start coming to a church is unmet expectations. But the problem is we don't ask if those expectations are realistic, if they're set by God, if you've even communicated them to the people that you're in there. Has Hollywood set them? Are you setting your expectations according to somebody else's pace and race? Like, you know what I mean? That's not how it goes, And I think that if you really zoom out and look across the earth at the different things that God's done through churches like Hillsong, which in the early years, I think, major slow burner in comparison to a Stephen Furtick. But now, with their 30, I think it's a year younger than me, so 37 years in, and it's, I think, the greatest church movement on the planet. You know, yeah, I mean, the results say it. It's everywhere and healthy and great. And so, yeah, man, I think just measuring things. So I think that fourth year, I was like really frustrated. We were struggling that year. We only had $300 in our account for Christmas, and I remember we just bought a few little. We actually know, we were like, but that was also our tithe, and we were just like, okay, let's just give it. I mean, and it wasn't out of a super spiritual mentality. It was a more like, we can't do much with it anyway, so can't do much. Be faithful. Might as well be faithful. You know what I mean? It wasn't like it was a hard choice. And then we ended up getting $600. I remember, just out of the blue, came from somewhere. We bought the kids presents. We were at my mother-in-law's house because we sleep over there for Christmas, and she had these bunk beds, but like for some reason they were super low, right? So me and my wife are like laying side by side, claustrophobic, anxious because church isn't working. End of the year, you're always reflective. And we're crying. I'm hyperventilating because my worst fear was being realized that I failed. And I just was like, okay, in the morning, I'll call one of our overseers, see if they want it, call 2 churches that I believe in, see if they want it, and we'll go home. We'll go home to Australia, and I'll never do ministry again. I'll never preach again. I gave it my all, and I'm done. And that's where I was like, you know, in the shower, and God just said, give me a year and you can pretend you'll quit every 3 months. And so I was like, I could do that. 1 more year.
Yep.
Might as well. And that's when, honestly, everything just shifted, man. It just took off, like, and started moving in really healthy ways. And we're not crushing it, but I think we're moving. And yeah, so it was big.
Yeah. I think that God is really good at multiplying faithfulness. It's just what he does, you know, and making that decision to just say, whatever you need, I'll give, whether it's scary, hard, obnoxious, just being faithful. Cause like being faithful with 300, being faithful with 1 more year, you know what I mean? Like it's that doesn't seem like a lot to you, you know what I mean? Or maybe it does seem like a lot to you in those moments, but it's just so cool that like faithfulness, how big it is, God is able to multiply that. It's just who he is. And
it taught me a lot, man. It taught me that, you know what? The God of the universe can do anything. And if he wanted more people to be in my service, in our church, in our community right now, he could do it. Like, and I'm not saying that it's just a God thing. Like we have a thing in People Church. We iterate all the time. We don't believe if it's not broke, don't fix it. We believe it's not broke, make it better. So like we're constantly moving and thinking, and we measure things. So we know that we're not just changing things because we love change. Yeah. We actually are constantly measuring and keeping the metrics. Like we've got, a really robust way that we do that. And but I got to say that I started to realize, like, if God wanted these people in the building to hear, that's all that matters. And right now I'm going to preach. And I've always preached, whether we had 6 or whatever we had, I've always preached like as if it was a crowd of thousands. And I think what I learned is a lot of pastors will say this, man, I don't even look at the crowd until the last song. Oh my goodness. And I had another pastor say, I don't even show up the day after Easter, the week after Easter, or the week after Mother's Day, or some kind of big one. And they're like, why am I going to do it? They're not going to be there, so I'm not going to be there. It's so deflating. And it's like this common thing that a lot of pastors say. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like what? So because they don't show up, you're going to punish the people that are faithful that do show up. Like, how's that work? And secondly, the problem is that if I get disheartened by the lack, when I look back, by the crowd, if I get disheartened by the size of the crowd, I'll also be inflated by the size of the crowd when the days come. And it's like, no, if that's what's going to break me, it's also going to make me. And I've got to learn to, like, you know what? I'm going to love what's in front of me. I'm going to love people. Yeah. I'm going to focus on what God needs me to change. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, how do I become a better steward that he looks at and goes, Chris, I could trust you with more. And I'm going to preach well, and I'm going to show up. And, I'm not going to actually take my cues from the crowd, because big or small, the Bible's pretty clear that God is the one that brings the increase, and he's in charge of the growth. And all we could be is incredible stewards, faithful, love people, preach to the one, because thousands are made of that, crowds of thousands are made of that. And so it was good. It's good for me, man. It's taught me a lot.
Yeah. So go back, 8 years ago, you're meeting with like a little bit of a core team, right? You kind of tried to gather some people, and, and you said that you were here for a couple of years. You were in Chicago before you planted, right? That's what.
Yeah, a year and a half.
Yeah. So you're starting to meet with your core team. You have like these people that are saying like, we're in for the journey. We don't know what it looks like, but we're in, and stuff like that. So what, like, talk a little bit about that season, that you went through with core team, like getting into the first, like leading up to the first actual meeting together on a Sunday. And then like what do you wish that they, what did they do great, and what do you wish that they, did better? And like, that's a nervous question, you know what I mean? But it is like, I just feel like that'll help, just to hear it from another pastor, like what would you say,
Yeah, ours was, I don't think we were a killer team, man. We had 8 people that were on key team,
Oh, you call it key team. Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's game changer. You add the key and team, it's just, you pretty much expect a lot of growth. I'm probably going to, off the back of this, write a book called Key Team. Just little things that key team, diapers and fuel cards. That's what we're taking.
That's what's going to come up along the bottom.
That's what's going to come up. Put this on YouTube and make that the description. You watch. Viral. So yeah, man, we had a key team of 8, and I think one of them had been in church for longer than 3 years. The rest of them were all saved a year or under ish.
I like it.
Or I didn't. It wasn't great, to be honest. I like them. I like their journey. I love people that have just said yes to Jesus, but building a church with people that don't know how to stop, like how to live their life yet, let alone build a team, was, like, it was crazy. So like, man, I think it was a real slow burn. And those years, like, but I don't know. I think I've always just been like, let's just build, let's just go. And, we didn't know anyone in the city. We didn't, we just went. And so those early years, man, if you ask me what could we have done better, or what could they have done better, I think 2 perspectives. From what could they have learned? Well, they could have learned how to do ministry, right? But, but like, at the same time, I think what was maybe some would see as a curse and, of day one, and I was ignorant, I didn't know how much of an impact it would have, but it's been our greatest blessing 8 years on. And it's because, a lot of people want to inherit other people's growth, but,
wow. And
I don't mean like by churches, I'm not in that game, I'm talking about that. I'm just talking about like, someone else's disciple to build this ministry leader, and that's awesome. But like, the beauty was that we built it, and because we built it, all they know is how to build. So they build people, and they build people, and it started this culture of reaching people, discipling people in church, because that's what we had to do. And I think that now we look on, and those people are still with us, and they're on staff or key leaders, and a good portion of them, I'd say like 70%, really involved. And so man, it was cool, because I think we built them, and that's just was the process. And I think, I think we did a good job. I think there was definitely things that we learned along the way, but everything we are today, both in them and me as a leader and we as a church, was birthed out of that real organic kind of process of refining and figuring out the best way to do this. And so the principles and the culture and the values that we speak today as a church were derived out of me leading people wrong and realizing, okay, I've got to do that different. And then, okay, that works. And then teaching that. And so I thought it was, something I wasn't pumped about in those days, but like, I look back now and I'm like very thankful that God did that, because I learned and was able to put descriptors that became things people could multiply and replicate. within our culture. And a lot of that is, why we're winning in the areas we're winning in today. So
I love
yeah,
that. That's good.
so just embracing the journey, man. Build your church. Don't expect it to be built for you.
Yes, that's really good. And so, all right, let's say the person that's watching this right now, nobody has been to a physical lightning service. You know what I mean? Like it's never happened, outside of online. And so, everybody that's watching it, so like they're, part of our core team, or they're potentially thinking about joining core team, or they're just thinking about attending on a Sunday, what would you say to them?
Jump in. Like, I think there's nothing better than building the house of God. And, I think do seasons. You might jump in and you're going to be key team, and you're going to read my book on key team, and you're going to love it, and you're in there and it's amazing. And, and then all of a sudden, maybe you don't want to be in key team anymore. Don't leave the church. Just, it's okay, man. Sit in the back row for a minute, sit on the bench, it might be 3 years, 4 years, 6 years later, you might be in again. Like, I just think build it as a family, or like to the person that's in there, like think of it as family, just ebb and flow with it, and just be part of the journey. Cause I think it's one of the greatest things. And, when you're in there and you're watching people get saved, and you can say you were a part of that. Like, I think that's one of the best things that we can do as humans. Remembering that, this life is but a breath, and eternity is really where we're going. And I think sometimes we spend our life here as if it was eternity, rather than investing into forever, and I think you building the church, being part of the team at whatever capacity, whether it's just coming with a smile and an amen and being there faithfully every week, and whether it be tithing or serving or leading, like, just, man, the church is built from so many different angles, and just enjoy the journey, be part of it, and jump in for the ride.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we're like what, 5-6 hours away from each other, I think. If I you don't know where Pittsburgh is. Yeah.
I don't know my geography, man.
we're all surrounding Lake Erie, essentially. So so you're
one of my favorite lakes.
We're down here, essentially. So it's like a 6-hour trip like that. That made sense, right? Yeah, that made sense.
Yeah, totally. I would have gone more just there.
You would have gone straight through the water.
Yeah, just.
I'm assuming you surfed. Did you surf?
I wasn't good at it, but I can.
Yeah, you tried. Yeah.
I was like the one out of my friends that was like really bad at it, the worst of it. Took it up super late in life and just wasn't great at it. I just go for a literal paddle. I'm just out there.
Yeah, just hanging out. Yeah, your arms
just
hurt.
hanging out.
Yep.
Yeah, not doing anything impressive, man. I probably made the mistake of buying a really great board, really great wetsuit. I looked the part, and it was really bad because I think people expected a lot more out of me. I was kind of like that, the tree where Jesus goes to get fruit from it and there's nothing. And can I just say that is a lesson when you're planning a church? Can I just say, like, there's a balance point between clever marketing and always making sure that the building looks full.
Yep.
But not driving it to the nth degree where you become that person in, like, there's like, you got people's profile pics and then you see them in real life and you're like,
it's not correlating.
Man, I just feel like embrace it, do it well, do it with excellence, make it look full, but you don't want people to come in and be like, man, so it's a one bedroom.
Yep. They take the perfect picture where the room looks huge, but it's only like a closet.
Yeah, and there is an art to it, right? Because you don't want to paint a picture that is the word. Like, it's an art, but like something we do a lot, and we ask ourselves in our marketing at People Churches, how are we writing that balance point of, you want the best angle of the foyer, and you want the best angle of the auditorium, and we want the best marketing, but we ask ourselves this question all the time. If somebody walked in off the back of our marketing and walked into our foyer, is it congruent?
Yes.
And it's a double-edged sword. Is it congruent in that, okay, they walked into what they thought they were walking into? And secondly, is our foyer as good as our marketing? Is our marketing as good as our foyer?
Good.
You know what I mean? So that everything feels like from front to finish,
yep.
A very congruent, soulful, real experience,
Yeah. Something that I loved, and I've told you this in private before, but so like I just, and like this is me being a little bit candid, but I, when I go to other churches, I low key as a leader, just I look for the flaws. Like that's just kind of how I am. And like I'm like, well, we do it better than that, or we can do it better than that. Like just stuff like that. And so when I went to your guys' church, I was like, this is awesome. And I think this is cool too. And I think this is God saying something cool. But Roberto Clemente is where the school was for you, and that's named after a famous pirate, right? Pittsburgh Pirate. Yeah. So
Totally.
yes. Okay. And so yeah. So it's just funny because it has no business being in Chicago because he had nothing to do with Chicago. I actually did some research on it a long time because I was like, why is it named that? And I guess kids like long time ago, like when Roberto was like really big, they like didn't go to school and the whole school shut down and they said, we'll only come back if you change the name of the school, something like that. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So Roberto Clemente, he was an awesome dude. He was phenomenal. So whatever. So, but he was a Pittsburgh Pirate. So I think that's a cool connection. But now I can't remember what I was saying at all. Can't remember at all what I was saying.
I don't know, but God was going to do something good. It was the church. You walked in.
Oh yeah. So I walked into the church and I was like, all right, cool. Like, it's all right. And like, so I'm walking in and like, you have the tunnel of people. Okay. And like, if you've been to church in, at that time, 2018, you've seen that, you know what I mean? Like you've seen that. And so, but for some reason, like, I just literally felt like, I was like, wow, they actually care. Like I actually felt that for the first time. Because like I always like my wife's new to Christianity as in like she just she was Catholic her whole life, but about 2 years ago she really started giving everything to the Lord and stuff like that and accepted Jesus and all this stuff. And so like this way of doing church is all new to her. And so I'll be like, just watch, like we'll go to this church and I'll be like, just watch, they won't even say hi to us. And like we walk through the doors. The two people that are at the front door, they don't say hi. They just open the door. We continue to go through the entryway. Nobody says hi. We just awkwardly look around. No one says hi. Da, 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 da. All right. And then we'll go to another church and people will say hi, but it's a job. And you can tell that it's a job. Hi, welcome to church. And you're like, cool. Like, this is awesome. Thank you. But at people, like, it was really cool because it was honestly, and I can say this unabashedly, it was the first time that I had genuinely felt like, the people in the tunnel, I felt like were like pulling me aside saying like, hey, like, how are you? It's nice to meet you, And we were walking through the foyer. There was a couple people that were talking to me. I like literally went to the bathroom. Somebody like, was washing his hands. He's like, can I dry off my hands and shake your hand? I'm like, yes, that's weird, but in a weird that I love.
Very weird.
So I'm in, bro, let's do it, and it was just like really, really cool. And so, and then I felt like when we went to worship, it was very much so like, it had nothing to do with a show. It had nothing to do with a performance. It really felt like, I always describe worship as like, whoever's leading takes the hand of the person and takes the hand of God and brings them together. That's the beauty of leading worship. And I felt like tremendously you guys did that and did that well. And then you did okay. And then from there it was
that's pretty much how it goes. That's pretty accurate.
Well, it was really funny, but by the time that you were preaching, I was already like, man, like I feel like the Lord is like sitting with me. Like I felt that. And I just thought that was really, really cool. And it might've just been a good Sunday for you guys. You never know, but but it was
just a good Sunday for you.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Just me. Yeah. And so, but it was just really, really cool. And I could tell that the emphasis of it was, this is not just another Sunday. That's something that I truly felt in the room. And that's the heart for my church. Like when I went there, I was like, this is what I want someday. Like I want like take all of it away. This is the heartbeat of this. This is not just another Sunday. Like it's the Sunday for someone, because like what I was going through, I was a pastor. I knew Jesus. I was, whatever, but like that Sunday, I needed that to propel me into the future. And so like that was, so it's like, you never know who's stepping into the room. You never know who's viewing online. You never know what's, and it's, I don't know. It's just so funny. Cause like, the things, it's just so funny when people share stories in the Bible, they act like, you've heard it 1,000 times. So it's like, well, there's somebody hearing that for the first time. There's somebody hearing that for the 50th time, but in the way that you said it, and it's going to set them free. Like it's just, I love the emphasis of like, it's not just another Sunday. It's not just the same message. It's not just the, well, you kind of preached that message, 5 months ago or 2 years ago. And it's like, good. Like, like it's just so good. But, but I guess we gotta wrap up here. But I think like, I feel like I want to ask you like final words, you know what I mean? Like final words to our church, final words to Lightning, final words to, as a pastor who's, seen success for 8 years, but obviously, a father, a husband, all this stuff. Like, what would you speak into our church? Just final words,
Well, final words is always so like.
I knew you were gonna be like, final word is
like final words. It's like, man, this is the final. This is it.
This is it.
This is it.
It's what they were. That's what they remember me for.
And I already gave you my gold with the diapers and stuff. And like, so I'm impressed and I'm digging deep here. Honestly, I don't know. I would just say I'd speak from our heartbeat, right? And if our heartbeat and our church resonates, and so be it. If not, it's just that's all I have to give. And man, I just think that always, lead your life with vision, and make sure that vision is not a vision that is concocted out of your own brokenness, but out of God's, sovereignty and who He is. And that means like, I think live your life to affect people, live your life to encounter people, live your life to bring people to Jesus, live your life to build His church, live your life knowing that life is long and short, and understand that just because He didn't show up when you wanted Him to show up doesn't mean He's not showing up. That, you can get caught up on the platform of what God is doing. And what I mean by the platform is like, if you look at Egypt, Israel getting out of Egypt, Moses told them what was going to happen, but the people kept getting caught up in what God was creating as a platform, right? So every sign and wonder and every hardening of Pharaoh's heart was just a platform so that God's glory would be multiplied. And I think, what if your problem is not a problem? What if the church is just young? What if you sitting there going, God didn't show up, so therefore I can't believe in Him? Is not the actual issue. Maybe He's just creating a platform because He wants your story to stand up, and story needs depth and breadth. And the depth and breadth is the distance between where you want to be and where you are. And so when you look at where you are and you're like, man, we're never close to where we want to be. It must be the leader, must be the church, must be this Christian thing. Can I just tell you, the problem is that you've got this thing called suspended belief, which is when you actually watch a movie and you get so into it that you buy into the setting around you. And I think God is outplaying an incredible movie in your life and creating a platform. And if you fall into the problem of suspended belief, you'll actually start to rethink that your context is your reality. And the truth is, your context is nothing but a platform for God's reality to be known to the people around you. And so don't give up, don't give in, run hard, know God will make it. You never know what's on the other side of 30 seconds. So hold on, because your promise is coming. And if not, your problem will make you stronger and you can do great things. And I think, man, just be faithful, lead with vision, be part of the local church and the Lightning Church. I really just pray that, that's a pretty full on and just powerful and kind of like audacious and out there name. And, I hope you live it. And, just enjoy the journey, live passionately, and be a church with soul, not just with best practices, even though they're super important. So.
Absolutely. Live with soul, baby. We got this.
Come on.
Appreciate
Thanks for having me, man. I just want to say congratulations on starting this thing, and whatever we can do at People Church, man. We're with you. Like, we really have a heart for people that are starting stuff. Like, we just want to be an open book, pass on everything, man. Anything and everything, we'll pass it on. And I just want to say congratulations, and excited for you, man. I'm going to be praying for you. If there's one thing I could say about, we've met, across paths a few times, and just a Lightning Church, I'll just say, like, you've got a pastor that genuinely loves God, genuinely wants to reach people. And I think back to you saying you walk into churches going, we could do it better. I don't think it comes out of arrogance. I think it comes out of, you've got a real heart and passion for people. And, I just want to say that, he's a good guy. you're betting on a good thing here, and you know, it's going to be awesome. He might not know how to shop with a fuel card efficiently, but nevertheless, he's a good man. And thank you for having me, bro. It's a real honor
Yeah,
to
dude.
speak to your people.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, we appreciate you. We appreciate People Church, and and yeah, we believe in what you're doing. Like it's awesome. We'll get some people up there to come check you guys out, support you guys, and definitely want to get up there for your new building when you guys move in officially. And
Come on.
I'm excited for you, man. This is awesome. It's gonna be another look back, and like it's like, oh man, remember when we were there? Like, man, God's exceeding that wonder. Like,
Yeah.
it's just
That's the
awesome.
best part about it, eh? Like just
Yeah.
the fact that God exceeds.
Oh yeah.
And it's touch
Exceeding.
and go, it feels, but he does it,
Yep. Exceedingly abundantly above. That's what he's in the business of. That's who he is.
That's what he does. All right. Well, appreciate you, man. Thanks for
Definitely,
having me.
man. Definitely, man. Be good. I'll talk to you soon, man.
All right. Peace.
Peace.